What's going on, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to my channel. As you know, it's your girl, Cravin Cowboys. And as always, before we jump too deep into the content, I just ask that you hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel. If you listen to me on Twitter/X, give me a like, give me a retweet, give me a follow if you're not already following me. Just up and coming content creator, trying to get my voice out there. Really just kind of just doing the show, right before, starting just the Memorial Day weekend. It's a Saturday, it's not too late in the evening. Just figure out, hop on right quick and just kind of give my thoughts, honestly. Shout out to, all the content creators doing their thing out there. And I just really, I'm sure you guys have heard by now. Yesterday, Will Skywalker Steele. Shout out to A to Z Sports. He does his morning show every morning. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, guys. As you can see, I'm just trying out a new setup. I'm kind of sitting outside on my back deck. I figured it's a nice enough afternoon, kick off to the summer. So I figured, why not, try to do something different. It was good. It was good, JBB boy. Good to see you in the chat. Love. Definitely very, very good to see you. What's up? What's up? How you doing? Like I said, if you listen to me, just give me a like, give me a retweet, give me a follow. You just help me out. But like I said, yeah, it's just nice, summer evening, and I just figured I'd sit outside, just kind of chill, just tap in, see whoever's, whoever decides to tune in. Thank you for spending your time with me this weekend, so far. But yeah, like I said, I heard Will Skywalker Steele's morning show yesterday, and of course, Iisha Morrison, came through and just dropped some, just great information. She's, of course, over there, with these OTAs, able to give us some insight, joining his show yesterday. So, shout out to her, shout out to him, always putting out great content. And really, if you guys have been following me long enough, you already know that, Miss Iisha Morrison is really one of the reasons that I got started. She was one of the faces that I've seen getting started. As a woman, coming up and me, I wanted to do broadcasting ever since in college. That's when I changed my major and realized something. Getting into sports is just something I wanted to do. And I really never really get to live out the the degree. So I just kind of getting in. Really just, getting started around this time last year. And I saw, Miss Iisha doing, videos out of her car and, putting out content, kind of starting out like me, doing videos here and there. And of course, she has a broader background. And of course, just dropping nuggets, coming through information about the linebackers. Of course, Zimmer and his plan for the defense. The wide receivers, with CD not being in the building, Parsons not being in the building. And of course, information for the tight ends, and I'm sure you guys seen the thumbnail, tapping in. I really just want to take a look at this tight end room because it's something that just fascinates me. And of course, just in the past, Cowboys never have really had, of course they had, badass tight ends, shout out to Jason Witten. Of course, we recently had Dalton Schultz in the most recent years, and of course, Swain, before he got hurt too bad, and just we never. Just had like a solid, tight that we could, really recall like that, I'm saying, that we could, really, kind of brag about, they have the Kelseys out there, George Kittle, the 49ers, I'm saying, just other teams, even the Browns, I'm saying, having someone like Njoku, someone that that, I'm saying, is not necessarily, people look to Amari Cooper to make those big crazy catches, what I'm saying, but, Njoku can come through and just make his clutch catches. Even last year going through what he was going through, I think he had sustained those, I think, third-degree burns while doing something off the field. And, he still came back to play, I think, the next week or something like that, and still to be able to come with bang-out games and still be able to contribute to your team. So just, tight end is just a position that just, of course, kind of incorporates some of the things that wide receivers do, but also they're, shout out to Miss Morrison, as she put it, they're an extension of the offensive line. So just seeing that they, bring so much versatility, or that they could bring so much versatility to the game. And it also takes, a lot of knowledge, a lot of, football IQ to be able to contribute. It's amazing to see, number one, what Ferguson was able to contribute, in the last couple of years. And just seeing that he still wants to up his game even further. He still wants to be able to bring more to this room. You heard McCarthy early in the season, earlier in the offseason, where he was, talking at his presser about Jake Ferguson being, one of the guys in the weight room, really from the beginning. Saying from, I guess I should say, the beginning of the off season / the end of last season. really in the weight room. He said, blasting music. He said that he could hear him, putting the work in, early. And most guys, go on vacation. We heard about most of the team going on vacation. That's what most players do. This is the off season. For a lot of guys in the NFL, they really look to spend time with their family. Go out of the country. Get away from the stress that they do have to deal with. During the season. Why not? So to hear that Ferguson was still continuously putting that work in, still trying to think of new ways that he can contribute to the team. That just shows what kind of player he wants to be and just what he does want to contribute to the team. Let me see what some of the guys. Calvin Hicks joined the show. What's up, fam? How you doing? Definitely happy to see you join the show as well. Let me see. No, you're not late. I'm actually just starting. Like I said, I'm actually the one that's late. I had put the time at 7:30, but I was I'm really just trying out some new things that are kind of go along. So that's kind of why I was kind of late. But I appreciate you guys coming in. Kelvin says bye bye Schoonmaker, and then JBB boy says he ain't going nowhere. And I feel you. I feel both of y'all. And that was kind of one of the first things I said too. Like even last year we had Peyton Hendershot, who was kind of on the verge of losing his job, but then we know unfortunately Stevens got hurt. Schoonmaker didn't exactly explode to what what we expected him to be. So there's still chances for these guys to be able to come through in their second year. Some some of them their third year. To make an impact, as far as Jake Ferguson coming into his third year, but we know Schoonmaker coming in, Hendershot as well. Excuse me, and of course we have the newer guys coming in, Brevin span forward. Just according to Linda Wells, just hitting 6'8". Just bringing that size to the room. There's something, just another nuance in the room that we didn't, that really don't really have on the team, if you will, a really big, tall guy, who can kind of, dominate, kind of high point the ball. What I'm saying? Yeah, I agree with you, Carl. Just a little bit saying, I'm assuming that you're meaning some of the other wide receivers or some of the other tight ends like Schoonmaker or even maybe some of the UDFAs that we brought on. But I'm not gonna say we don't need them just yet. What I'm saying? Because we can always use some extra blocking bodies. We saw Sean McKeon, he's someone that even someone that I thought that we didn't necessarily need on the roster, but he can bring other substances to the team, like blocking, when he has blocking assignments, or even if they know we don't know, even if they know that when he's not getting the ball, like he can serve as a distraction in the field, to allow give space to Ferguson or give space to Schoonmaker, whoever they decide to put on the field. So I'm saying, of course we do still have mini camp to come up, continuation of OTAs, of course training camp down the line. So we got to see what these guys can contribute. I don't want to count them out, just yet, too early. But really, I just wanted to come on. I kind of got sidetracked, really kind of getting into the show before I actually brought it up. But yeah, like I said, I just wanted to kind of dive into this tight end room. Ms. Morrison gave some great updates, all around. But I just kind of want to talk about the tight ends because with Stevens really just being one of my favorite players out of last year's camp. And just seeing, of course, Jake Ferguson, of course, tight end one. Of course, he's going to be, stand out either way. Either way you put it, he's definitely going to be one of the weapons that they, are sure to use. But I just want to take a look at maybe some of the other guys that who could possibly step up. I don't necessarily know just how many tight ends they intend to keep on the roster, but I would assume maybe 3 to 4. Maybe 3. 3 to 4. Of course, maybe a couple they would keep on the practice squad. So. Like I said, I'll just go ahead bring up my show. Carl says, I'm just saying Schoonmaker never really showed us anything. Yeah, I'm with you, Carl. Like, I definitely don't disagree because, what I will say is, like, he showed that he can be in the right places. Like, last year we did see him at the goal line. Unfortunately he was short, just inches short of the goal line getting that touchdown. But we saw that in those moments, he can step up. He's not afraid to make that catch. Even with someone in his face, because there was someone there, tackling him, and that's, unfortunately why he was short. But even in those moments, he can, have those big, even in some of those blocking assignments, he can still bring that to his game. Now, granted, I will say that's what Brevin Ford does bring into the building as well. He can, he shows that he can block well, and of course his size. I'm sure he can, drive guys, with no problem. So, that's definitely in. Of course, with Schoonmaker, unfortunately, coming up with yet another injury before going into OTAs. I believe they said it was his hamstring now. And that's definitely unfortunate. I mean, we saw Linda Wells speaking in an interview not too long ago about them just trying to pick up kind of where they left off in January. and just him trying to progress, continue into his second year. He missed a lot of training camp last year due to his, like I said, due to his injury. And so coming into this year, once again, kind of falling behind, and McCarthy even said that this year they're kind of going into more of a play mode as opposed to being in install mode. But even so, like Schoonmaker still has to catch up on install mode. So for now, everyone is kind of, more so than kind of, but everyone's definitely a step ahead of him, as a step ahead of him as it is. And everyone uses the off season to catch up. But when you have to catch up kind of double time, it just kind of, it just kind of slows you down in the sense that you can't, number one, you can't get on the field, and number two, you can't execute what you are learning. Granted, if you are learning in the film room, if you are learning what you're learning from the playbook. So it's kind of hard to, it's going to be kind of hard to see where even going into training camp this season, it's going to be hard to kind of gauge where Schoonmaker may be just because of how late he's kind of coming into the game. Hey, what's going on, Splendid Poppy? What's up? Definitely happy to see you in the building. What's going on, fam? I'm glad, I'm so happy for my fam always coming through during my show. I really appreciate you guys, especially on a Saturday night, just hit 8 o'clock. What I'm saying? I know, with the weekend starting, I'm sure everybody, has made some kind of plan. So like I said, it's not even going to be too long of a show. Like I said, I'm just going to talk about the tight end room this evening, and just some interesting facts that, that we heard through Miss Iisha. And, like I said, actually, let me just go ahead and bring up my show since we're already talking about him. Let me see, and yeah, that's like you guys can see with the thumbnail. I just kind of just want to talk about the tight ends. Like I said, we have Peyton Hendershot, John Stevens Jr., of course, tight end 1, Jake Ferguson, Brevin Span 4, the UDFA out of Minnesota. And of course, off to the side, we have Luke Schoonmaker, Princeton Fant, and Alec Holler or Alec Holler. I'm not trying to say his name, but yeah, like I said, I just wanted to talk about the tight ends, and you see, yeah. Okay, and yeah, like I was talking about with Jake Ferguson, just coming into his third year, and Lunda Wells actually just have a snippet of when he was speaking earlier this offseason. Really speaking about all the tight, excuse me, speaking about all the tight ends in the room, but of course, speaking to each individually, just speaking about his expectations of, of the room itself, and of course, each tight end individually. All right, so I just want to play this snippet first on Jake Ferguson, and about what Lunda Wells says. Where Ferguson's focus is going into this season, going into his third season, and just how much he wants to not just be, a tight end of right now, but really a tight end who can progress each year and just really add to his game each season. But I guess I just want to play a snippet of what Lunda Wells said real quickly, and then we'll discuss afterwards. Okay, 1 second. All right, here we go.
And we always talk about in our room, shooting for perfection, and achieving excellence. And as you go back and comb through the tape, you have some plays out there that you left out there that you're always chasing. It may be a drop, it may be a block. So you're always chasing those plays. And I think that's what we always talk about, being consistent and consistently getting better and being able to play at a high level consistently. Not just 1 year. The great ones play consistently on a high level every year throughout their career. The Wittens of the world, the Kelsics of the world. So you want to be able to chase that consistency and play great every year. So I think that might be one of the things that he's focusing on is, hey, anybody can do it 1 year, right? But can I do it every year and not only do it like that, but do it a little bit better? Why not get to 1,000 yards? Why not execute all the blocks that I need to execute? Why not catch those balls where, hey, it was deep across the middle and I got banged, but hey, I need to come up with it. So I think that's what we're always chasing. I think that's one of the things he's probably focusing on.
All right, yeah. So you just heard Linda Wells talk about Jake Ferguson and what he thinks. I'm sure he discussed it with him, but what he thinks Jake Ferguson's focus is going into his third year. And of course, he talked about how he wants to, like I talked about earlier, Jake Ferguson being in the weight room. Just trying to put the focus in not only just upping his game, but also being a leader to the team. Yeah, I'm with you, JVB boy. Yeah, Ferguson definitely the man. Like we see his aggressiveness, not just off the field, but also on the field last year. We saw him when we played the Seahawks, how he was in the face of Jamal Adams, one of the guys who Cowboys Nation won 8 years ago, and who we saw that, Jake Ferguson, as if you will, putting the paws on them, you know what I'm saying, giving them the stare down, when he made the touchdown in the end zone. Like, that's the kind of, and not saying that other players never kind of showcased this aggressiveness before, but just seeing someone who's not afraid to get in other people's, faces, in the opposition's faces, to show them that, hey, I'm here. Even, like Linda Wells said, taking those big hits. Even Miss Morrison mentioned in the interview yesterday, like, being, the tight end who catches most of those catches down the seam, what I'm saying, taking those big hits in the middle. I'm saying just going across the middle, period. Like, it can get dangerous in there, just those guys are looking to hit those linebackers, in some of the teams that we face, the Ravens that we're going to see this year. But, in the past, facing teams like 49ers, those linebackers aren't afraid to hit. You know what I'm saying? Facing, who else do we face? I want to say, I'm trying to think of other teams we face whose linebackers have been crazy. Who just, just an example. Other, just like I said, teams like the Ravens, even, we're going to see the Lions come up this year. Now, it's the Seahawks just last year, they have linebackers who weren't afraid to step up and make those hits. So, I'm saying it's one thing to, to say that you can do it, but that Jake Ferguson is, actually doing this and, bulking up and building a muscle to be able to take even more of those hits. Like, that's just something that goes to not only the physicality, but the mentality. Like I have here for, a dog mentality for Ferguson. Like, he kind of came in with that attitude and has really just kind of maintained that. And he's, never really been afraid to back down from a challenge. Like, we always talk about finding another weapon for Dak, right? Me and Star talked about the other day on our show, Star Chasers on Wednesday, about trying to find another counterpiece, you know, for CD on the field. But, Star, brought up the fact that we could, start using Ferguson as a second option. Of course, not, wide receiver two, quote unquote, but this is another option, which is cool because it's the same thing that Miss Morrison brought up as well. Having Ferguson be that second option, as a pass catcher. What I'm saying, just someone that we can look to, and saying, if they are double teaming CD, and even she said, they were starting to double team Ferguson just last year. So just seeing that he's starting to command that kind of attention on the field, just kind of shows that, he's kind of just, he's saying, hey, I'm here too. Like, yeah, I can be that powerful presence on the field, and you guys are going to have to come up with a game plan for myself as well. So it's just good to see that Ferguson is not only you know taking up that challenge, saying, of getting, making sure he stays in that playbook, make sure he does get in the weight room, making sure that he can just still be that leader to his teammates. But also, like me and Star talk about, trying to find that next level to your game, trying to up your level, trying to up your game even more. What can you improve instead of just resting on what you did last year? What can you do? What can you do better? A lot of these guys would rather forget, what they did last year, what they messed up on last year. But just knowing that, these guys are willing to look themselves in the mirror, and even in the playoff game, saying, he's able to, when he, let's just say, in games last year where he knows he's messed up, or say he's missed a block. I forget what exact game it was last year, but he admitted that, hey, it was my fault that I didn't get the block, and that I wasn't on time to be able to catch the ball from Dak. He's not afraid to take accountability. He's not afraid to admit mistakes that he's made. So it's just good to see this kind of maturity in the player so far. So let me see. Next we have, of course, John Stevens. Someone who I saw, have a great impact last year. And of course, and actually, Luna Wells wasn't the first to speak on John Stevens. We heard Mike McCarthy give updates on him. Miss Morrison also, was saying that he looked like, I'm sorry, not Miss Morrison, excuse me. Who was it? Luna Wells. Actually, yeah, Miss Morrison did say that he was looking like, out there looking physical. Mike McCarthy, Linda Wells, all have said that he's looking ahead of schedule. Now, even Mike McCarthy say he's not a doctor. Of course, you can't. Of course, you can't go by his word. He's been working. John Stevens has been working with Britt Brown. Through the rehab. We know just how just how revealed Britt Brown is in Cowboys Nation. Just how well he's able to work with these players and get them back, if not all the way back, at least mostly back to where these players are. We know he's working with Trayvon Diggs as well. We heard from Al Harris, around the same time in these interviews that that Trayvon Diggs is looking well as well. Is looking almost ahead of schedule, looking to be back in time for training camp and things like that. So it's just good that these guys are putting that time in that rehab, but also at the same time still having that connect with their teammates, not afraid to, still progress, mentally. Let me see. Carl says Ferguson is the kind of guy who wants to smoke. He says he's like a Metallica song, Seek and Destroy. And then JV says, I personally don't want to see him on the field until week 9. Now, let me know who you're talking about, JV. Are you talking about John Stevens? Or are you talking about, I'm sure you're not talking about Ferguson, but I guess I'm assuming you're talking about John Stevens because yeah, I definitely understand that. Like we've seen the history of what happens when some of these players are kind of rushed back from injury. Like you saw, just last year we saw Pollard, Terrence Steele. Now we saw Pollard admit, and it's a good thing. We saw these players kind of get back to where they were as well. Even Donovan Wilson. I'm saying someone who missed training camp as well, and even Schoonmaker. If we're talking about tight ends, even Schoonmaker was able to kind of get, his, kind of get his groove a little bit later in the season. Unfortunately, like I said, unfortunately now he has an injury, but later in the season he was progressing with his blocks. He was able to, like I said, get to the goal line and make those plays. But we're going to see just how well he's able to kind of pick up in the off season. But yeah, like I was saying, Mike McCarthy and Linda Wells both spoke on John Stevens being ahead of schedule. And this is interesting because, like I said, John Stevens is just an interesting player to me because he's someone that I didn't know, number one, was first a wide receiver and someone, a player who converted the tight end. So just seeing, number one, another player with position flex, this is, kind of a staple of the Cowboys, that they go out to players who, they even said they like players who do more than one thing. So seeing that this guy was able to kind of kind of pivot to another position, but also a position that requires more IQ, like we talked about earlier. So just seeing that he's willing to take on that kind of extra workload, kind of take on that, being that extension of the offensive line. We even seen last year in preseason where he was taking on those blocks. That's my next door neighbor dog. Excuse me. Sorry about that, y'all. But yeah, so we seen even last season where they used him in preseason. And Miss Morrison even mentioned they seemed like they had personalized plays for Stevens, and even for someone, number one, coming in undrafted, and number two, already having personalized plays, having the team believe in you that much to where they want to see what you're capable of. I'm just not. I don't think the Cowboys really see this type of player that often, where they can bring in, someone like John Stevens Jr. and someone who can kind of change the look of the position, that of I guess of a position that they've had, of course, they had the Jason Witten, they had the Martellus Bennett. I'm saying they've had big bodied, tight ends before, but just seeing, I guess maybe how early he kind of came on. He came on just showing, showing his IQ, just showing how versatile he can be. I'm saying I'm just really excited to see how much further he can take, his position. I'm saying, like I said, he just kind of shows, all around that he can just be that type of player to kind of bring something different. Like I have here, he's athletic. He can stretch the field. He can kind of go up and get the ball, but of course, we just haven't seen too much of what he can do. But let me see if I can bring up another quote from Linda Wells right quick because he kind of spoke on John Stevens just a little bit. Let's see. Give me 1 second, guys.
I think he's ahead of schedule physically. You know, those guys have been working up behind now for Brett all throughout the season. One of the best things that happened for him, God kind of took away his legs, so it forced him to kind of get in the weight room and build that upper body strength. And you look at his physical structure right now. I mean, he's put together pretty good now. Going into year 2, and his biggest redeeming quality is his athleticism, the ability to stretch the field vertically. And he understands route details. He understands how to get in out of breaks. He's tough, which allows him to have the ability to develop into an adequate blocker for us. And so that skill set in passing games is going to be really good for us going forward. And I'm excited to get back on the grass and get to working.
We got Steve.
Yeah, so just like Luna Well said, like this, John Stevens is for this one. I mean, and we know last year he got hurt, early in preseason. The same thing with Diggs; they both got hurt early in the season. So most of us, we were kind of expecting for him, to kind of be ready by training camp. Hopefully, hoping he can be ready by early training camp. Of course, the start of the season, but so that's kind of the bright spot we kind of took from some of these injuries we had, early in the season last year. So that's something I'm definitely excited to see. If because even last year I was going to camp last year. I even said that even then I wasn't fully familiar with Stevens, but even I said like, hey, like this kid Stevens could easily take Hendershot's place because of course at the time we knew Hendershot was kind of dropping passes. He wasn't having a great camp. What I'm saying? He had to even kind of work on his blocking a little bit. So and that's something that kind of disappointed some of us. We were kind of looking at Hendershot and Ferguson, kind of being that duo tight end, kind of the even at I think it was Steve. I think Schultz, of course, when he was here, we were looking at them as being like a tight end trio, and that even kind of got us excited, for a little bit, of course, before Schultz left. But even after Schultz leaving, we were still looking at Hendershot and Ferguson to still hopefully be that tight end tandem that we could look to kind of make big plays in the game. And unfortunately, Hendershot kind of fell behind. So, number one, that kind of took away some of the excitement, but at the same time, Ferguson never really. Of course, outside of CD and of course Brandon Cooks, some of these other options that Dak has on the field. Ferguson never really gets those. I guess never really gets that break in between reps. You know what I mean? Like he can never. I mean, of course, he can come off the field. Rotation, of course, between running the ball and these other options that receivers and things like that. But having another tight end who can come in and be a threat on offense. I'm saying Hendershot was that. At one point, hopefully he can get back to that because I still think he can have an impact on this team. You know what I'm saying? I'm not exactly sure. We're talking about Schoonmaker earlier, possibly losing, a spot. And me and Star were talking about the other day on our show as well. But, we look at Hendershot, who was, at one point, as, could be another offensive threat. But now he's kind of teetering on the side of, hey, like, I don't want to say put up or shut up, but he's kind of getting, it's definitely gotten deeper, in this tight end room, this year. Just, because we're talking about competition in all these rooms, so just seeing how much they brought into this tight end room is definitely, it's just gotten a little bit tighter. What I'm saying with, for Hendershot. So, hey, what's good, Bruce? How you doing, fam? Good to see you in the chat tonight. Thanks for joining me, fam. Appreciate it. And like I said, if you guys are just joining me, make sure you guys hit the like button. Hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. If you guys don't mind, also I got a Cash App, a $sign MPCOX90. I'll try to post it in the chat if I figure it out. But anyway, like I was saying, yeah, John Stevens could just really just bring if not John Stevens, of course maybe some of these other guys on the list as well, could bring. Just kind of be that second tight end threat that we're looking towards, what I'm saying? If Hendershot, kind of falls back towards the back of the pack, or if Stevens kind of comes on late, like JVD Boy earlier said, if he doesn't come on maybe till a week, after the bye week, they could give him that kind of grace period because he doesn't have to come back right away. Like say if we do see, other guys who step up in this room, like a Hendershot, who kind of, is kind of vying for a spot back. You know what I'm saying? We can have, Ferg, Stevens, Hendershot, or Ferg, Hendershot, and if Stevens comes back late, if Schoon is going to be, you know, sitting out, if he's still going to be behind, if he's still going to be maybe out, possibly due to injury, we can look at some of the other guys on the list, possibly like Brevin span forward, and that's what could really open the door for him. Actually, I think he's next on the list. So, yeah, let's move on. And yeah, I think kind of like I think me and Star. I don't know. I think we just briefly touched on it the other day, but kind of talking about how our seventh round draft pick, Justin Rogers, being there's not a lot of depth in the defensive tackle room, that could just kind of give him a leg up to kind of have a start right away, right? So this is kind of like, I don't want to say the same situation for Brevin Spanford, but like we were just talking about, Luke Schoonmaker unfortunately having another injury. We have a Peyton Hendershot who wasn't showing what we wanted to see last year, right? Like we were talking about earlier, his blocking, dropping passes, things like that. And I think he actually had a minor injury. I think in I think either during training camp or during the season too, that kind of set him back. So there's a lot of these, just a lot of these players. Let me see, Ferguson, Stevens, yeah, and even and even Princeton fan. We saw him, I think, late in the season last year. In the Seattle game. I think of course when his cousin Noah Fant is on the Seahawks, so I think that's why they put him in the game. And but pretty much he's kind of just been like a camp body, slash like practice squad body. So like I said, we just really haven't had tight ends like that. Even McKeon, as of last year, I think he just went to the Lions a couple weeks ago. But we just really never, like I said, we just never really had like a second tight end who could really step up. So I think that kind of opened the door for the for this kid coming in, Brevin Spanford, this undrafted kid from Minnesota, just showing. Number one, his size. Number one, I mean, that catches everyone's attention when he gets in the door, right? His size. Luna Wells said he just hit 6'8". You know what I'm saying? And that's automatically a step up. Really, not just in the tight end room, but the other wide receivers, right? We don't really, even Martavius Bryant, that's why they brought him in. So even with the amount of wide receivers we have, they still brought in a big body wide receiver because they want somebody who can kind of go up and high point that ball, right? Well, here they have a tight end who has the size and, who does that, who goes up and, catches these contested balls, right? So we just, the Cowboys are maybe looking for, like we talked about earlier about Ferguson being, that second kind of receiver option, right? This is something that I just been kind of thinking about where, we lost Gallup, well they cut Gallup, but they let him walk or whatever, but of course he was another receiver option, right? And so we have to find someone, if not in the receiver room, like me and Star talked about, if no one shows up, not saying no one will show up, but if no one stands out in the receiver room, and yeah, we do have CD, we have Brandon Cooks, we have Jake Ferguson, but if maybe even later in the season, if we do bring in on John Stevens, depending on how he is with his injury, or just if they just decide to bring in this kid, just for a play's sake, to see how he looks getting game reps, just getting his feet wet, just getting him kind of involved in the game. I think, just in my personal opinion, like I don't know for sure this is their plan for how they plan to use him, but just with his size and just being that, we kind of looked at Gallup as kind of like that possession receiver, where someone who just go up and get the ball. He doesn't have to be that yak guy. He just have to be the guy who who needs to break the tackle and get 5 to 10 more yards. You know what I'm saying? He just needs to be able to go up and get the ball, these contested passes, and just be able to win those. So if we could find another type possession receiver, possibly, like I said, it doesn't have to be he doesn't have to be in the game all the time. Of course, he's going to be a rookie, undrafted. We're not even sure just how many snaps he's going to get, but if we could just bring in someone who can. And just kind of be that type of possession receiver who can go up and high point the ball, and someone who can, maybe, get 10, 15 yards down the field, and just kind of be even even on the sideline, or just Mike McCarthy talked about this early in the offseason, just finding more weapons for Dak to use on the outside besides CD. And this is what this team was lacking, right? Even up to this year, we talked about, ever since CD has been here, trying to get more weapons for Dak. But it seems like, every time we talk about it, people say, all you have to do is take away CD and the offense is done. You know what I'm saying? We even see in years past where if you're doubling CD, what other options do you have? And even last year, trying to go to Brandon Cooks, it took a while for Dak and Cooks to try to establish that deep ball. It took forever for him just to be able to come a threat in the red zone later on down the season. Like a lot of these guys kind of broke their stride late in the season. So, and I'm sure that contributed to, Mike McCarthy's first year as being the play caller. I'm saying other things like that. So it's just, just so many things we have to consider. So this year, they're going into play mode. They have most things, they have the ideas down on paper now, which is about executing and really just gelling, in their second year of this offense, right? So just maybe just, if they're thinking of, hell, with the running back room, they're saying it's going to be week to week, depending on who they face. So maybe they could just think of ideas for this kid coming in, using his side. Even Lunda Wells spoke to using his strengths. Playing to his strengths. So, of course, his height and his size being his strength. Why not play to that? So I just want to play this last clip from Lunda Wells talking about. Let me see where he says that. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that.
Again, like I said earlier to some of the guys, I think when you talk about measurables, when you talk about a wide tight end, he fits all measurable checks all about. He's up to 6'8" now. I tell him every day, yeah, you're 6'8" now, so you gotta get him to believe that you are a big man, right? So play to your redeeming qualities, right? You have something that a lot of guys don't have, which is the size and the length. So play to that and own that. So he has the measurables. Very smart, very diligent worker so far. He has really good athleticism and size and length. So I'm beyond excited about having him here, and especially how we got him. That's those are the type of free agents that you really you sleep well at night time knowing you got that in the back pocket.
Yeah, so just like he said, like number one, being able to pick up span forward undrafted. Like even Miss Morrison mentioned yesterday how she was surprised that Brevin span forward did go undrafted. So number one for the Cowboys to be able to snag a tight end, of his stature, number one, like she said, undrafted, and for us to be able to come up with a plan to be able to how to use this kid. Like we were just talking about with Stevens, and he's tall as well, so. It's unrelated, of course, but having, both Tylers on the offensive line, those big guys on the left-hand side. So then you could possibly add, Brevin Span Ford or John Stevens Jr. on either side of the offensive line to give you extra blocking power. Like talking about having, we talk about the twin Tylers, but just, talk about these two tight ends, who can also use their height, their size to be able to give us even stronger blocking, even more protection for our quarterback. And we know we have Zeke in the running back room, being able to teach these young running backs, being able to, and even though it's a new protection scheme, but Zeke was one of the best pass pro guys when he was here. So it shouldn't be too much for him to pick up. But once we shore up the protection for our quarterback, I think that's just going to be something that's going to, number one, help us run the ball, and also be able to help us with some of these pre and post snap number one penalties, and also just some of these ideas that maybe McCarthy may have. Like he talked about earlier in the offseason, just being able to, of course, with it being his second year, play calling, he just wants to be able to improve the cadence, improve just some of the things he does pre-snap. Just want to just kind of just improve the intelligence on that side, because you hate that. That's kind of where some of these battles start. Like they talk about, it starts in the trenches. Where some of these plays start before the whistle blows. You know what I'm saying? You want these guys to be, standing tall, protecting your quarterback, but also standing tall on the line, knowing, being confident in the play, and just being able to push forward. And then of course, let me see, a final slide. Of course, like I talked about earlier, Peyton Hendershot, Luke Schoonmaker, of course, Princeton Fant, and Alec Kohler, from University of Central Florida, another UDFA that they brought in to kind of round up the tight end room. These guys do have something to prove. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, Peyton Hendershot, I'm saying he stood out, in his first year, I'm saying, with Ferguson, and he just needs like, I think he just needs like an extra confidence boost. Like he was well on his way, to doing what he needed to do, but he definitely has a lot to show. Like, hopefully he's had another off season to be able to get in the weight room. Linda Wells spoke about both him and Princeton Fant being in the weight room working out. So hopefully they'll be able to show some, some improve and show some promise coming into this, into the season, because they're definitely going to have to, show something. You know what I'm saying? Because they, this, we talk about it with the rest of these rooms, but it's a lot of competition. You know what I'm saying, going around this team this season. And like Linda Wells says, like we talked about earlier, telling a span forward to play to his strength. Like a lot of these guys are bringing different strengths, they're bringing different nuances to this game. So it's not really going to be a matter of what the Cowboys, number one, how they want to build this team, what kind of identity they want to show going into the season, and what kind of players they're going to use to be able to shape and mold those ideas, and to be able to, execute these ideas on the field. Because it's already going to be tough. You know what I'm saying? Bringing in a coach on the other side, but just sticking on the offensive side, it's already going to be tough, because you're kind of, of course, it's going to be tough bringing in rookies. They're playing the learning game, right? They're trying to mesh with the veterans. That's already going to be the tough part. But what it's about is about these guys. What makes it easier is about these guys coming in, number one, eager to learn, and also just them wanting to be able to, to get to know their teammates for one, and be able to be there for them. We heard a lot of these rookies talking about coming in, just wanting these guys to trust each other, wanting these guys to be able to be there, be in the playbook, and learn what they're supposed to learn, so that way they don't fall behind. That way they're not the ones, holding back practice. They're not the ones lagging behind, because no one wants, everyone knows just how tight the competition is going to be this year. So everyone's going to have to bring, their leg up, what I'm saying, to, all the way through training camp, because even McCarthy said it's going to come down, excuse me, it's going to come down to even some of this, what you can do on special team, that's going to round out, the bottom of the 48, the bottom of the final 48 roster for game day. Yeah, Jamie says Hendershot does seem to have confidence issues, but it started with his fumble in the 2022 season. Injury didn't help his confidence at all last season. Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Yeah, that injury definitely, if you will, just kind of added, insult to injury, if you will. No pun intended. It's just that, number one, he fell behind. It seemed like he was falling behind because he, wasn't having a good camp. He was, having those drop passes. And at the same time, you're just trying to he's just trying to get his groove back, right? He's just trying to get into a good, consistent, tight, steady pace. And all of a sudden, you get hurt. So then, you fall behind, just like Schoonmaker, what I'm saying? The injury, once again, kind of hinders, where you want to be, what I'm saying? Even Linda Wells spoke on it. Actually, I'll play this one last clip, before we get out of here, about this actually is pertaining to Schoonmaker and how he wants him to progress, where he came from last January. But this really can apply to Hendershot, or really anyone who wants to, on a team, who kind of wants to further where they are, right? They want to kind of, up their game, but sometimes, he just kind of speaks to how injuries can sometimes kind of set you back. So let me just play this last clip.
My expectations for him going to second year too is to be consistent and continue to develop. We got to pick up the bar where we left it at in this past January. I think we made big strides as the season got on. went along. We kind of behind the eight ball a little bit with him being out majority of the off season, but we just got to be able to pick up the ball where we left it at in January and build on that foundation that we started on last season. And I think if we're always building on the foundation and not starting over, all right, that's where I think you see the biggest jump. Because in year one, sometimes you don't get to where expectations might have had you at, but as long as you're able to pick up where you left off at and continue to build on it, then I think that's where the big year two jump comes in.
Yeah, so you heard him. I mean, and even just that real quotable right there, like he said, if you're continuously having to start over, you can never really, progress to where you want to be, and that kind of just that can go towards the play calling, like McCarthy was talking about. Like last year was install, so now this year they're in play mode, so they don't have to worry about thinking. They're not thinking as much as what they have to do, what they have to go, where they have to go on the field. What does this language mean? You know what I'm saying? Now they just, for the most part, of course, rookies still have to learn that. But just knowing that most of their guys can come in, you can have the second year guys, you can kind of teach some of the rookies coming in at the same time. So you just kind of have kind of like I'm trying to think of the right words for it. Kind of like a delegation of duties, right? You kind of have like a lot of like mini coaches, right? Like they brought in Kendricks to be able to teach the linebacker room, so Zim wasn't always having to talk to them directly, right? Even the safeties, like you have Awanye Thomas, you have Dono, you have Marquise Bell going back to safety, so you do still have young guys, but slash veterans who were here last year, who are still familiar with the language. So you're not playing, it's not everyone playing catch up, what I'm saying? And even though you do have young guys, these young guys have been here, for a little bit of time in the system, and yeah, I mentioned some of the guys on the defensive side, but all these guys kind of work together to be able to help everybody. That's why McCarthy has the across the hall, so that way, if anybody has a question, what I'm saying, you can go, ask that person a question, and they need to catch up, or they're not sure what's going on. Some of these rookies can go and say, hey, where am I supposed to go on the field? What I'm saying? Or what's going on here? What does this signal mean? Things like that. So these guys, that's I guess is one thing I love about these players coming in. They're just showing that much, they're showing the eagerness to come in and the willingness to learn, that, they're not afraid to ask questions either. What I'm saying? Not afraid to get with their veteran, counterparts and say, hey, I need help here, or I want to learn this, or hey, what I need to do in the weight room, or getting with that guy in the weight room. I'm saying? We see, Parsons and Williams working out together. I'm saying? We see what Guyton and Cooper Beebe working with Mayweather. I'm saying? So just and then working with other O linemen in the league. So that just, these guys just coming in, from day one. I'm saying? Just willing to put that work in, just shows how much, not only how much they're willing to show, how much they're willing to grow, but also just showing how much they're willing to work, with their teammates as well. So I guess that's pretty much, my video for this evening. I just, heard the interview yesterday. She, Miss Morrison, like I said, shout out to Miss Iisha Morrison, shout out to Will Steele, for an amazing interview yesterday. Dropped a lot of nuggets, but I just really loved what I heard about the tight end room, because this is the room, me personally, but just I think Cowboy Nation just looking for another room to, or just another, offensive weapon to kind of thrive. What I'm saying? We're always looking for a counterpart to CD, right? And, we're just, we're not saying we're thirsting for Ferguson, but, Ferguson and Ferguson is that dude. So it's not like we're, overhyping Ferguson, but we're just looking for another counterpiece to CD so much that, we're looking at a tight end, what I'm saying? And I'm looking for another tight end to give Ferguson, some of that rest when he needs to, because we can't use him, seven, it's just like McCarthy says, a long season. So we need some of that rotational help. So just seeing that we have some of these guys coming up who can give some of that relief to Ferguson, but at the same time, of course, give us another, receiving option, that just kind of, gives us, I think I think we just have another level up for our tight end room. What I'm saying? Going from, having, this is no knock on Schultz. What I'm saying? He's gone on, he's gone on to the Texans, having, had a decent year last year. We'll see what he does this year. But, just seeing how much talent we can actually have, having potentially 2 to 3 tight ends, who could be starters. I'm saying, or interchangeably, in that rotation. Just kind of excites me. So Thank you everybody for coming through. Joining my show. Before I get out of here, like I say in the beginning, I just ask again that you guys hit the like button, hit the share button. Hope to kind of do this setup a little more often. I like sitting outside. It's kind of different, and I love, what I'm saying, the just a different feel of it. I love these summer nights. I'm always outside in the summertime, so I figured, why not start doing some shows out here. But yeah, like JB, yeah. The only time Dalton be blocking, I heard, is like it's on social media. You know what I'm saying? So, so we'll see. I don't know if he does any blocking over there. With the Texans or anything like that. We'll see when we face them. I guess what, week 11 or something like that. But yeah. So like I said, thank you to everybody for joining my show. I don't know next time I'll be going live individually, but if I don't see you guys before next week, make sure you guys catch me and Star, right? Make sure you guys catch me and Star on our show, Star Chasers, Wednesday evening. And hope you guys enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. Make sure you guys. I'm about to fix me a drink, so make sure you guys, have a drink. Make some plans to get out. Get out this weekend. It's gonna be beautiful. It was nice today. Hopefully, not too much rain tomorrow. They're talking about chances for rain tomorrow, but hopefully, not too much. But yeah, thank you everybody for joining my show. I will catch you guys next time. You guys have a great night. I'll see you next time.